evidence-based public debate. Open data also improves internal efficiency as agencies can cross-check information and reduces duplication. However, its effectiveness depends on data quality, timeliness, and usability. Releasing incomplete or highly technical datasets can undermine genuine transparency. Um, Digital financial management and e-procurement systems further strengthen accountability by standardizing and automating process that were once discretionary and opaque. How to pronounce it? Yon. Electronic procurement platforms reduce opportunities for favoritism by publicly advertising bids, documenting evaluation criteria, decision, and creating auditable traces of decision. Yan. Now let's go to the citizen participation and good governance. Necessity or liability. Citizen participation through mechanisms such as referendums, public consultation, participatory budgeting, and citizen assemblies is often presented as a cornerstone of good governance. Critics, however, argue that broad participation can slow decision making, introduce populism, and lead to policy paralysis. While these concerns are not unfounded, citizens' participation remains a necessary element of good governance, provided it is well designed and balanced with representative institutions and other input. The case for citizen participation. Excuse. At its core, good governance rests on legitimacy and accountability. Citizens' participation enhances legitimacy by ensuring that policies reflect public values and priorities rather than the preferences of a narrow political or economic elite. When citizens are meaningfully involved, decisions gain greater acceptance, increasing compliance, and reducing resistance and outcome. Especially important for difficult reforms such as environmental regulations, taxation, and land use planning. Next is the role of the civil services. Merit continuity and efficiency beyond politics. A professional merit-based civil service is a cornerstone of effective governance, particularly in political systems characterized by frequent leadership changes, by insulating an administration from partisanships. Excuse. Such a civil service promotes policy continuity, excuse, institutional memory, and administrative efficiency. However, its value must be critically examined alongside potential risks, including bureaucratic inertia and democratic accountability concerns. Importance for policy community. Um, policy policy continuity depends on stable institution capable of sustaining long-term programs beyond electoral cycles. A merit-based civil service preserves institutional memory, the technical knowledge, procedures, and lessons learned from past. Learn from past initiatives, reducing the likelihood that policies are abruptly reserved or poorly re-implemented after political transitions. This is especially vital in areas requiring sustained commitment such as infrastructure development, education reform, climate adaptation, and public health. Now let's talk about graft and corruption. Impact on development. How graft and corruption undermine long-term economic growth. Rampant graft and corruption are among the most persistent obstacles to sustainable economic development. Beyond their moral and legal implications, corrupt practices systematically weaken institutions, distort markets, and erode public trust. Their impact is especially damaging in three interrelated areas: foreign direct investment, public services delivery, and wealth inequality, each of which play a crucial role in a nation's long-term development trajectory. Corruption and foreign direct investment. Foreign direct investment thrives in an environment characterized by predictability, transparency, and the rule of law. Rampant corruption undermines this condition by increasing uncertainty and transactions cost. Investors faced with bribery, opaque regulation, and arbitrary enforcement of laws perceive higher risk, which discourages long-term capital commitments. Even when investments does occur, it may be channeled into sectors that allow quick returns or rent-seeking opportunities rather than reproductive, innovation-driven industries. As a result, corruption not only reduces the volume of FDI, but also lowers its quality, limiting technology transfers, job creation, and productivity gains that are essential for sustained economic growth. Now let's go to the systemic versus individual corruption. Threats to democracy and targeted responses. Corruption is not a uniform phenomenon. It ranges from everyday abuses of power by individuals to deeply entrenched systems in which public institutions are captured by private interest. Differentiating between individual corruption and systemic corruption is essential for understanding their distinct impacts on democratic institutions and for designing effective anti-corruption strategies. Individual corruption. Individual corruption typically involves low-level officials demanding or accepting bribes to perform or refrain from performing routine duties such as issuing permits, providing basic services, and expediting paperwork. Also, the anti-corruption strategies for individual corruption focuses on administrative and behavioral reforms. And let's go to the systemic corruption. Systemic corruption is often described as state capture occurs when powerful individuals, corporations, or political elites exerts undue influence over laws, policies, and institutions to serve their private interest. Unlike petty corruption, state capture operates at the highest level of governance and shapes the rules of the game themselves, affecting legislation, regulatory bodies, courts, and oversight institution. Now let's go to the last one. The Anti-Corruption Toolkit. Effectiveness and limitations. Anti-corruption mechanisms are essential instrument for promoting transparency, accountability, and integrity in governance. Common tools include anti-graft courts, ombudsman offices, and freedom of information laws, each serving distinct role in detecting, preventing, and punishing corrupt practices. While these tools can be potent, their effectiveness depends on design, implementation, and the broader political and institutional context. Anti-graft courts specialize in investigating and adjudicating corruptions cases involving public officials. Their strength lies in legal authority and specialization. Um, specialization. Judges and prosecutors develop expertise in complex financial crimes, which can increase conviction rates and deter would-be offenders. For example, countries with strong anti-graft courts often see faster resolution of high-profile case, reinforcing the perception that no one is above the law. Limitation: these courts are only effective if truly independent. Political interference, inadequate funding, or slow judicial process can undermine credibility. Oh, now, excuse. Let's proceed to unemployment. Um, Structural versus cyclical unemployment. Differences, challenges, and policy responses. Unemployment is a central concern in modern economies, but it causes vary, requiring distinct responses. Two key types are structural unemployment and cyclical unemployment, each arising from different economic dynamics. Understanding the difference is crucial for designing effective labor and economic policies. Structural unemployment. Structural unemployment occurs when there is mismatch between the skills, location, or experience of the labor force and the requirements of available jobs. And the cyclical unemployment, by contrast, arises from fluctuation in the business cycle. During economic downturns or recessions, aggregate demands declines, business reduces production, and workers are laid off. Let's go to the next one. High youth unemployment poses significant social, economic, and political challenges for any country. Socially, prolonged joblessness among young people can lead frustration to low self-esteem and social unrest. It may increase rates of crime, substance abuse, and mental health issues as youth struggle to find purpose and financial independence. Economically, a large segment of population being unemployed reduces productivity and consumer spending, which slows economic growth and limit tax revenues. Now, the next one is the debate over increasing the minimum wage, often centers on whether it improves workers' livelihoods or unintentionally